Welcome everyone to today's webinar, the joint webinar between Rapport and ourselves, AccountsIQ. Joined by Danielle, and Danielle and myself will introduce ourselves properly now in a second. Just before we get started though, just to let everyone know that we're recording today's webinar. A copy of the recording and the slide deck we're about to quickly go through with you guys will be shared by email later on today. And of course, if you have any questions or that, as we go through today's webinar, there is a Q&A channel there if you want to pop them in there. Danielle and myself will do our best to answer them as we go. But if we don't get to your particular question, we will follow up with you later on in the day as well. So I suppose with that in mind, let's get started. Today's title, Unlock Seamless Reporting for Business Success. I suppose we're really here to kind of talk, Danielle, about that integration between our two platforms. And we've been kindly joined by two of the senior people in PRP Architects, Bhupinder and Nick, who will introduce in a short while to you all. So quick introduction to ourselves. My name is Andrew Faulkner, Senior Business Development Manager here at AccountsIQ. Been with the business come to 4 years now in July, so very, very soon. Originally on the implementation side of the house. I think actually with yourself, Danielle, you were on the implementation side when you joined Rapport, and then moved over to the sales side a little over 2 years ago. Danielle, want to do a quick intro to yourself there?
Thanks, Andrew. I'm Danielle Cahill. I'm an associate director with Cubic Interactive, who provides Rapport3. As it says here, I've been with Cubic almost 10 years now, my 10-year anniversary this year. And but prior to that, I've kind of come from a financial background. So I'm originally a qualified accountant, and I have worked in practices, architects practices and interior design practices, both using Rapport3. So that was for 5 to 6 years prior to moving across to Cubic Interactive.
That's great.
So I have a lot of experience.
Yeah, it'd be great being able to see the client side of it and actually the vendor side of it as well, isn't it? Really
exactly.
important.
And I would have used financial products, back when I was working in industry as well.
Very good. Okay, just a quick overview of what we're going to run through today. I'm going to give you a quick intro to AIQ. Danielle's going to do the same for Rapport3, and then we're going to introduce Bhupinder and Nick, and we're going to talk about PRP and their story with both our products and where the journey has come from and where they're hoping to go to over the next year or so with them. So quick introduction to AccountsIQ. Who are we? AccountsIQ is an Irish company formed back in 2004. Launched as a cloud-only product in 2008. We're now in our 15th year, thereabouts. As a company, we've 20,000 users. We're present in over 60 global countries. And we cater for very much anywhere from single entity businesses to group entities, and where you're trying to consolidate results, kind of get that kind of global view of how your business is going. Very much everything we do as a company, everything we build within the product is really kind of catered around the 3 pillars of kind of efficiency, collaboration, and insights. Obviously, efficiency and kind of where we can kind of minimize the time to do manual tasks, whether that's like doing your bank recs, inputting sales, purchase transactions, repetitive journals that need to be posted into your finance system. And obviously it ties in very nicely with obviously that integration piece and kind of going where you are using other platforms in your business like Rapport, or you might have CRM systems or whatever they are, payroll platforms, getting all of that information in and try not to be hands-on with it, actually just letting the systems talk to each other at the right time in the right way. Collaboration is really, really important for the modern finance function. As I always say, that there's no more hiding the finance function in the back office where all the receipts and all the money goes in and they give you out a report once a month to say, yeah, that's the state of the business. It's very much, it's an ongoing process. It's hourly, if not daily, across the whole company nowadays. And like talking about architects and engineers, it's knowing where you are with your billing, have clients paid their bills, kind of getting that insight and getting that information moving really quickly around the organization. And then obviously insights, being able to actually kind of, yes, I can produce my statutory reports, I can produce my P&Ls, my balance sheets, my trial balance, age, debtor, creditor reports, but actually getting down into the detail, kind of getting that granularity of kind of going, how are my projects tracking against the budgets? Do I need to revise my budgets on them? Do I have the budget there to actually action and expense, bring in a contractor that I need to get this project completed out? So just some of the key areas around AccountsIQ then, kind of automation of data entry, as I just mentioned, is really, really key nowadays, kind of getting away from kind of manual transacting as much as you can. That business intelligence piece, again, really, really important. Within AccountsIQ, you can have up to what we call 6 dimensions. You might know them as cost centers, department coding, or even project coding. So being able to say, like, yes, this is a project, but kind of go, what stage is that project at? Kind of, okay, then let's analyze out all our projects that are at a pre-planning stage, or maybe they're at a construction stage, and kind of see where we are, see where we're tracking against your budgets at those levels as well. Simplifying the reporting. Reporting is an absolute pain at the best of times for most finance teams. There's an awful lot of demands on them. You've got your statutory reporting, but you've different departments, you've managers, you've project managers pulling at you, looking for updated reporting, updated dashboards, etc. And we're going to talk a lot about this with PRP, because obviously that's the real kind of the beauty of joining your systems together, is getting that better insight into it. For group accounting, so anyone on the call today, if you're more than a single entity, obviously being able to bring those transactions together, not just your GL level, but your analysis coding, your budgets, bringing all that together and being able to kind of slice and dice the reporting really, really quickly. But also under group reporting, you get that intercompany transaction. So if I want to raise a sales invoice and it automatically receives as a purchase invoice or an intercompany journal, that's really, really important as well. Integrations, where we have pre-built integrations with great partners like Rapport3. We also do customized integrations. And we're finding over the last 12 to 24 months, most of our new clients coming on board with AccountsIQ, about 60-70% of them now are looking for some sort of integration. It's become so important to the modern finance function and modern business as well. And then wrapped behind all of that, obviously it's my job to sell, but wrapped behind me is an amazing team, and really our customer service, it's award-winning. We really, really concentrate on it. We invest in it. We invest in customer service tools, and we really, really put the customer at the absolute epicenter of everything that we do as a business. So where do we actually fit in the market? We're very much a mid-tier product. So you look at some of the lower products that would sit below us, where we take a lot of clients off. QuickBooks, Xero, some of the Sage products. We also take clients off a lot of legacy platforms. So you have Sun, Exchequer, etc. in there. We have taken clients off some of the bigger products as well, where they've kind of gone, oh yeah, we need a NetSuite, we need a SAP. And then they realize they've taken on too much. It's too complex. It's very costly on not just money value, but actually on time, if they want to make changes and update those products. So we've had conversations and won business from that end of the market as well. So that's just a quick background on AccountsIQ. I'm going to hand over to Danielle now, and she's going to give you, just those not familiar, a quick run through on the report side of things.
Okay, great. Thank you, Andrew. Well, I think a number of people on this webinar actually Rapport3 clients will know and spend too long. Can you click onto the next slide, please, Andrew? Sorry. Oh, there it has. I think on the next one. Yeah, so this is just a little overview on who we are. So we have over 225 clients up and running with Rapport3. And these are typically within the AEC industry. So we do have 35% of the AJ100. So there's architects based in the UK. And then we equally, we're growing from strength to strength on the engineering side, bringing on more engineers every year as we go along. We also have some different different sectors also using Rapport3. So we have some medical communications companies as well, who I know one of our clients is using both AccountsIQ and Rapport3 successfully in that area. Our client size is we've got a really scalable product. So we have, like, our smallest client is around 10 staff, and we go all the way up to 1,000 staff members. So we have a lot of clients, you know, ranging kind of around the 200 to 300 mark, and then equally kind of between the 50 to 100 mark as well. So we do have a wide range of client size using Rapport3. We are also have a global reach. So we have clients. A lot of clients are centered in the UK and Ireland, but then we do reach as far as Australia and Asia, and even we have some clients based in South America as well. So we do have kind of a global reach across the board. So just on the screen there is just an example of some of the clients that we have using Rapport3 at the moment. Okay, and then just to talk about the product Rapport3 and what we do. So we've just got a little a diagram here of some of the key kind of modules and areas within Rapport3. So we focus kind of around staff management. It is a practice management software. So it's for all your users within your practice to log in on a daily basis. They'll be doing their timesheets and expenses and leave bookings. So all their kind of general daily activities will be logged and captured within Rapport3. Even with expenses, starting here is just one of the points of integration with AccountsIQ. So on a daily basis or monthly or weekly, depending on your period, you'll be entering in, the staff will be entering in their staff expenses that they claim back against, linked to projects, to work stages. They'll go through the approval process on Rapport3, and then that will push across to AccountsIQ. And because Rapport3 and AccountsIQ are mapped, all the nominal codes are mapped correctly, Rapport will know where to post those transactions to in AccountsIQ. Then Rapport3's core focus really is around the project management side of things. So you'd be managing all your projects, planning your budgets, your resourcing, and your billing plans, all within Rapport3, and projecting them out for your forecast invoicing as well. We have some QA elements, and then we also look at the concept of reporting. As Andrew said, it is such a big thing at the moment. And we've also found we're using a lot of integrations, like things like Power BI, Excel. We've a lot of reports within Rapport3, but then I think also kind of bringing some of the information from AccountsIQ, the information going back and forth is really helpful from a reporting point of view, and it simplifies it and streamlines it for everybody. I've also kind of mentioned a few other items in relation to CRM. And then there's just one key kind of area here on the right-hand side is really looking at our integrations. So, Rapport3 has a lot of functionality and features within it. But as Andrew mentioned as well, we do find that a lot of our clients want to integrate with different products. So kind of this is an example of some of the types of integrations a client would interact with. So we've got the likes of the Microsoft products, which are Teams and Outlook and Excel and Power BI. So we have capacity to link into those items in different formats and in different ways. Gecko and DocuPing are also products that we have that are linked to Rapport3 as well. We have a number of clients using both of those. So I've also highlighted AccountsIQ. Obviously, this is an AccountsIQ webinar as one of our key accounting packages that we integrate with, and that we're happy with the service it provides, and the integration works well.
I suppose on that note, Danielle, I suppose if we actually kind of talk about that integration piece between our two platforms, as you mentioned there, like it's that movement of data back and forth between the two systems. So you've mentioned there on the screen there, obviously, like within AIQ, you've got your customer accounts, your supplier accounts, nominal codes, tax codes, and obviously your payments are being recorded. So obviously we're taking your bank feeds, we're taking those payments in, but obviously that then can be pushed back and forth.
Exactly. So, I mean, AccountsIQ would be the holder of all those key information. There's 4 items that are listed there, but they all pull seamlessly through to Rapport3. So when you're creating a sales invoice, you go to select your customer account, and that's a live feed from AccountsIQ, and it'll be as up to date as the information that's in AccountsIQ. The same goes for all of those accounts and nominal codes and tax codes. So when you're creating a transaction in Rapport3, you're actually selecting from an AccountsIQ list, that has that information. So then once you carry out the transactions, and within Rapport3, we can have with expenses and invoices and purchase invoices, there will be approval processes and workflows on how they actually get to the stage until they get processed and then get to go across to AccountsIQ. And then, as you said, the kind of final piece of the puzzle is when you send across the sales invoices to AccountsIQ, the sales invoice essentially then lives in AIQ. So once it's mapped and it's paid accordingly, those payment terms will go back to Rapport3. And I think that's a key feature, because it means that your clients or your staff can actually run an age debt report in Rapport3, and they can see how their projects are doing, and if they need to have a conversation with the client, and if they need to do any age debt chasing activities.
Yeah, and it's definitely probably a sector risk that the project teams can get carried away and do too much work while they're not actually getting paid for it, I suppose. So kind of keeping an eye on where you are with that is really, really important.
Yeah.
I
you mentioned the business intelligence codes as well,
Yeah.
just in your section. And I think that's kind of a new part that AccountsIQ is the only kind of package that we have this additional functionality with. And it's whereas you said you've got these dimensions and we can map different things from AccountsIQ and Rapport3. So to give you better reporting in AccountsIQ. So that's something that we're constantly looking at and hopefully will evolve into the future as well.
Yeah, and I think that's actually an important note, Danielle, that like it's not that we build these integrations and that's it. It's parked. They're constantly evolving because both our platforms are constantly evolving. Like you guys, you've shared some of the product pipeline that you guys have coming over the next year, and I know we're having a session tomorrow to go through our product pipeline with you guys. But like the systems are constantly moving, so the integration kind of needs to follow that as well to make sure our clients are getting the best possible use out of the two platforms as they talk to each other on that. Look, that's been great, Danielle. Little bit of an introduction to both of us, which is great. But really what we're here to talk about is PRP architects. So we're going to introduce Nick, who's IT director at PRP, and Bhupinder, who's one of the directors. Nick, are you there? You want to?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Hi. Do you want to give us just a quick introduction to yourself, if you don't mind, please?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm Nick Dunn, as it says. I've been in the industry about 40 years in the architectural world. I started as an architectural technician many years ago. I've worked at a number of large practices looking after CAD, BIM, IT systems, focusing a lot now on system integration, efficiencies within the practice, and looking at technology that will help the business, really.
Very good. Thank you. And Bhupinder?
Hello, I'm Bhupinder Singh Chawla. I've been a director at PRP now for 25 years. I actually started as a Part 1 student.
Oh, wow.
So
You've seen everything at this stage.
I've pretty much seen everything, and I think it's given me a unique perspective of the business. So I have a really good idea of the business strategically, but also what happens at the coalface. We're about 320 strong, and we are multidisciplinary, and we carry out work all the way from stage 0 to delivery and beyond. Not just architecture, we also do various other things, landscape, inspections, and so on. So, we've got a broad business and quite a diverse business, and I seem to have some kind of handle on how that all comes together. So that's the reason really that I was involved in the introduction of Rapport, and also rethinking some of our processes along the way.
Okay, very good. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to stop sharing my screen here now, and we're going to have a conversation between the four of us. So again, any questions anyone on the call today has, please feel free to drop them into the Slack channel, and we'll try and answer them as we go through. So I suppose just to start the conversation off, everyone, kind of going, how did you end up picking AccountsIQ and Rapport, respectively?
I'll start with AccountsIQ, only because I was sort of involved in some of that implementation a few years back. So
yeah.
PRP traditionally used Access Dimension for a number of years. It got to the point a few years ago where they were trying to force us onto their cloud-based platform. We did want to look at a cloud-based platform. We wanted to get the system off-prem. It was an on-prem service. And you mentioned earlier about moving some of the customers from the bigger platforms to more relevant ones. And we looked at the sort of business we were, and we felt it was a sledgehammer to crack a nut. So Access Dimensions in the cloud, it just wasn't right for our business. So we went to the market. We looked at what the platforms that would probably provide us with a much better service to suit our size of business. And we went for AccountsIQ.
Very
And
good.
alongside that, Rapport as well, obviously, because one of the issues with our previous system was it had limited integration. We had a lot of repetition in our work there. We were duplicating a lot of stuff. There really wasn't that single source of truth. So, information existed in various forms. But when we looked at Rapport, we just found that, the detail was there. Although one of the difficult things for us was actually simplifying some of that detail, and customizing it for us. But we also like the the approach from Cubic in terms of being proactive, listening to some of our requirements. And although, it is that off-the-shelf kind of product, there's that willingness to customize and so on to make that fit for our practice. And the same with AccountsIQ, that integration, that element of customization and personalization for our practice, that was really, really quite important for us.
Yeah, it's something you hear quite a lot when you're kind of going through those sales stages, is kind of going, yeah, the single source of truth, which is obviously bringing all those systems together. So you have that one kind of holistic view of everything that's going on. But it's quite often what I get thrown back at me sometimes is kind of going, well, look, I know you're an accounting package. I know you're going to do A, B, and C, but I have a specific problem. Can you solve that problem? And that's the consultancy part of the process that I really, really enjoy, because it's kind of rolling up your sleeves, getting in beside the client and kind of go, right, how do we solve this? What is your process? And I will challenge you. Sometimes the client needs to be challenged a bit because they've been doing something that way for 3 decades at this stage or whatever else, because it's the only way they could do it with their current systems and that. So it's interesting to kind of hear that.
Well, we definitely considered that. When we looked at we had AccountsIQ. We've had it for about 4 years.
Yeah.
And then we looked at replacing our current management system. And when we looked at Rapport3, we looked at all of its integrations. And again, we keep going back to single source of the truth. We use Newformer, we use AccountsIQ, we use Open Asset, we use Teams. And it was looking at all these integrations that would help us sort of streamline our processes. And you're right, Andrew, one of the things that we kept saying to the business was, let's not just try and shoehorn what we had into Rapport3. Let's look, can we do things better? Let's not think of the restrictions we had in our old system. Let's look at the things that the new system can do. So yeah, there was a number of reasons that attracted us to Rapport3, and one of them being this, the integration with AccountsIQ.
Very good. And sorry, go on, Danielle. Sorry.
So I was just going to talk kind of then about the onboarding process and processes. We've been talking about that a good bit. So have you found that now that you've taken on like the new software, where you are versus where you were 5 years ago before you had the two of them, have a lot of your processes changed? Are they, you become more efficient, or, and how was the adoption, in your practice for this type of change? It's always hard to kind of make some really new workflows and processes that, sound great on paper to be more efficient, but there's always, there can be a bit of a pushback as such.
Well, I mean, Bhupinder said he's been at PRP a long time. I've done a similar process at another practice, and I knew the challenges of bringing in a new system and change, and it is challenging. We had our old MIS platform for 20+ years, so people have been used to the way it works. So Bhupinder and I knew that we'd have a challenge to get people on board. We left ourselves 12 months. We gave ourselves 12 months. So I've done this before, and I knew that we'd need that time scale to ensure the integrations work, to ensure that we could look at our processes, to ensure that we could train the staff or get them on board, show them the benefits. And the benefits are definitely paying off. One of the things that we've seen, that the feedback we get from people as we've gone around the practice and asked them, we're 6 months in now to Rapport implementation, and when we asked the management teams what they like the best, the first thing that came back was the invoicing process.
Okay. Great.
We looked at the process before. We looked at the process when we just had AccountsIQ, on its own with our old system.
Yeah.
And we knew that with the two together, with Rapport3 and AccountsIQ, we could really streamline the process. And as you said, now we're getting the feedback back from AccountsIQ, and project leaders are now getting that single source of the truth. They're getting the right information at the right time, especially on aged debtors, on invoicing, and just helping them to manage their projects.
But one of the issues you touched on before, Andrew, was the change of culture.
Yeah.
When you've been using a system for a long time, no matter what the duplications, whether you've got your own spreadsheets or so on, no matter how you've made it work, you tend to, resist something new. And we took that on board as well. from early on. We're a large practice, and we've got lots of different systems across there, and that change of culture was a difficult thing to start on with. But that really began on the onboarding process, where we got our different departments and branches together. We got them engaged from then, asked them the questions of how things are working, how you would like to see them working better, explaining the benefits of both the systems, the integration and so on. So trying to get them on board early on. And then once we went live, and even prior to going live, we worked with Cubic to run a series of training programs, which are still continuing now. And they've been really useful. We've also set up things like rapport champions across the practice. Those people that are kind of really interested and getting engaged and kind of disseminating information, but also helping others. But that change of culture, you can't really take lightly.
No.
It's a real, sometimes it can be a really challenging thing to get your staff on board. But I think that's been managed pretty well.
Well, I think change is always
Yeah.
difficult. And yes, sometimes you need to dangle a carrot, if you want to use that expression, out in front, kind of going, look, this is the better reporting, or this is how your life's going to be easier because you only have to input into one system or whatever it is. But yes, when you do come through that and you start to get out the other side of it, yes, an organization can definitely, you'll be more efficient as an organization.
I think you're right, Andrew. It's selling the benefits.
Yeah.
They might not see it on day one.
No.
And on day one, they might think, this is change, I'm busy.
Yeah.
But we're gradually showing them the benefits. And as I said, the first one, what was the invoicing? It's this streamlined approach to invoicing and seeing that payments are coming in that's really helping them. But they already
So
know.
are your project managers now getting more involved in actually creating their draft invoices and doing, you've got some processes built in?
We, as in terms of our project leaders, we've always had them drawing up the invoices or putting those details together. So historically, we've given them that, power to, manage your finances and also to invoice. But the process has just changed so much. There were so many emails going back and forth, and, carrier pigeons and telegrams and all sorts of
Word documents.
It was
PDFs being edited.
Yeah, it was. But essentially, they, all of our project leaders did it, but the systems just weren't, weren't there.
They each sound like they all that their own way of doing it.
They did. They did.
Yeah.
But this is why, the system really is, when it comes to our invoices, we use the fee forecast screen report, where you can see all your invoicing. You can filter it according to your project, so the project leader or a project director. You can see where you are, what needs to be invoiced that month, and what has been invoiced. Very easy to track, and you can go and produce the invoice directly from there. So it's really streamlined, and everybody loves it because of its simplicity.
And there's obviously a time saving around all of that streamlining as well, from the project side of it to the finance side of it, and back again within that. Just if we can touch upon kind of reporting for you guys. Obviously, I know there's a huge suite of reports in both platforms. And as Danielle mentioned earlier on, I think both of you guys have mentioned it already as well, that obviously you use Power BI quite extensively to kind of pull that information into, and obviously you can connect AccountsIQ into that. Where do you see your reporting at the moment, and where would you like to see it get to over the coming months and years? So
I can talk about where we kind of have it at the moment, and I'm sure Nick will talk about Power BI and where we want to take it in the future.
Yeah.
But first of all, our reporting's improved significantly. That single source of truth has really helped us. We've got our resources in one place, we've got all of our finances one place, and whatever we're doing now, whatever platform we're drawing that into, it's all coming from the same place, which means everything, aligns, and which it didn't do before, because, I would have a resource chart and somebody else would have a resource chart, and they were manually put together.
Telling different stories.
Yes, and they were. So, that efficiency, and, the accuracy of reporting has improved, vastly. One of the things that we've also done at this stage is we've been working with some of the screen reports and customizing those for us. And that just means that, we can go in there, have a screen report such as fee forecast or something, just go and change things, and immediately you can see the updates, and so on. And again, we think that's quite powerful. But also we've used your QA kind of module as well for reporting. We weren't able to tell previously what project was at what place, if projects had appointments and so on. We've incorporated a kind of project milestone plan within that QA. And so, we're generating reports to help us with that. So it's really been brilliant. But I'm sure Nick and we have been batting around ideas, looking at other places and so on, of how we can expand on that. So I'm sure Nick will touch on that.
You're in a good place when you've got to that stage where you're kind of going like, okay, we've got the day-to-day organized, but now let the imagination run wild and kind of go, where can we go with this now?
I think that's it. I think we've been live for 6 months with Rapport and AccountsIQ integration. We had to focus initially on getting the screen reports working. We had a bespoke report that Cubic have developed for us for the resourcing side of things. That's, it was challenging, and it was challenging getting it right for the way we wanted it to report. We report in a very particular way. But what we can see with Power BI is that because it can link into many different data systems, we can start to present some simple reports for the project leaders, the project directors, and the board on certain aspects. So we can dip into AccountsIQ, we can dip into Rapport and report in one place, rather than people having to go into different systems. So we like the fact that we can lift it above and away from proprietary systems and actually delve into different data sources and present it in one simple way. There's a wealth of information, huge amount of information there on projects and on resourcing and on financing. What we want to start to do, Bhupinder and I, is going to start to look at, some reports that are very, very detailed, not so detailed, so the project leaders can get some key information rather than having to dive into different systems. So we do see Power BI as the way forward. And we're now starting a journey of looking at the reports that we're going to start to build. We've got some of the, so I was going to say, Danielle, we've got some of these. So, Cubic have given us some starter packs of Power BI reports, so we could, at least we can see where we can go with it. We're quite new as a, exactly. So as a business, we're quite new to Power BI. We hadn't used it before. One of the reasons why we went with Rapport was its ability to use Power BI to leverage that information and present it in a meaningful way, because a lot of people they don't understand a lot of the detailed charts that are in there. So yeah, we definitely see that as a way forward.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing with reporting. It's always going to evolve. Do you know what I mean? There's always, you'll get it, as Andrew said, you get the day-to-day sorted. You've got, everybody can, let's say, review their own age debt and, the information at the touch of a button. But then it's kind of trying to make the intelligence out of it and actually say, well, how do we kind of present the questions we want to ask, solve the problems, the early warning signs, and it'll constantly evolve as you get more attuned to Power BI, and then obviously both products as well.
But also, as you just mentioned there, Nick, also making that a company-wide project. It's not held within a department or within a particular manager's head or whatever. It's kind of bringing everyone together with that whole view as well. So even though my department is X, I can still see how I'm impacted and being impacted by these other decisions that are going on in the organization.
And it's access to the live data. Before, we talked earlier at the beginning about some of the inefficiencies we had, where we had double entry. So we had an age debtor report that was being put together on a spreadsheet by the accounts team, and that was held in an area where people couldn't see. So they'd have to request, what's the list, and then the list was issued every now and again, but it wasn't live.
No,
now we can see live information.
Yeah, and by the time they've gone and chased the client, they've already paid, and then it's awkward, so it's not you're 24 hours behind or even longer at any point.
That's great. I suppose just a last question from me, kind of going, putting on the sales hat again. Would you recommend AccountsIQ and Rapport to colleagues in the industry?
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's still a continuing story.
Yeah.
But everything, we're in a totally different place now from where we were, in a positive manner. We would definitely recommend going down this route. We can just see we're in a better place now, but if we look down to the future, we can see ourselves in an even better place. So
Yeah.
definitely, I think one of the things, if there was any lessons learned, I think one of the things that I would kind of touch on is allowing enough time for testing during the onboarding. I think we were a little bit naive on our side about testing. We went through creating certain reports, looking at the integration, and on hindsight, we probably would have wanted to test that a little bit more with data. So I would definitely recommend doing that. But overall, I definitely think I would definitely recommend anybody going down this road. Definitely.
I mean, just to add to that, we've been AccountsIQ customers for 4 years. Very happy with the product. We've been Rapport customers we've been live 6 months. We're very happy with both platforms, and the integration between the two has just helped. That's just added to the benefits of linking and getting a single source of the truth. And it's improved efficiencies. As I said, we're not double handling anymore. It's one place, and everybody's on board with it, and everybody is pleased with the where we are so far.
Just to give you an idea of some of the efficiencies, I mean, we've released a couple of staff in our finance department now who were essentially, doing many things manually. Yeah, and now we've got nearly 3 staff there who are just helping set up projects and do something totally different, oversee work, whereas before they were just pushing one piece of paper to another spot, and that's some kind of direct implication of the systems.
Yeah, and then hopefully they could spend more time now, looking at the actual projects and, what's happening with the financials on the project, as opposed to just processing the financials.
And that's exactly what they're helping with,
Yeah, the analysis, really important.
Yeah.
Final word from you, Danielle?
Yeah, no, it's obviously great to have Nick and Bhupinder join us and kind of tell us their stories over the over the last, well, we've been talking to you for probably 18 months, even though you've been live for maybe 2 years or even longer. But it's great to hear now that we're out the other side, that it's all settled down, your processes are in place. It's constantly going to evolve, and that's a good thing. We always kind of have to look for improvements and efficiencies, but it's good to hear that using both products together have kind of really kind of driven success in your business.
And it is only the start of the journey. So who knows where it'll take you over the next year or so.
Very much the start, yeah.
Yeah, no, Nick, Bhupinder, really appreciate you joining us today and giving us those great insights and that. Danielle, thank you for co-hosting. And thank you for everyone who joined the call today. Really appreciate it. Hope you found it insightful. Ran a little bit longer than we initially planned, but please forgive us, and enjoy the rest of your day, everyone. Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you.
Super. And I've just noticed there are 2 questions in the Q&A, but potentially we'll reach out to both.
We will. Yeah,
directly. They seem specific, so we'll come back to you directly on those.
We'll do that. All right.
Okay.
Have a good day, everyone. Take care.
Thanks. Bye bye.